Concentration camps built by the Nazis endure as eerie monuments to humankind's darkest hours in the dismal annals of history. These concentration camps became emblems of the Holocaust atrocities, representing the worst of humanity. But there was one more group, homosexuals who Nazis did not consider to be living in their society. Let's check out in what ways did the Nazis inflict unspeakable violence against homosexual men during their reign of terror. Homosexuals in Nazi government. On January 30, 1933, the Nazis were officially declared the government. Soon after, they started trying to break down the openly homosexual communities that had formed under the Weimar Republic. When the Nazis initially started cracking down on LGBT groups, one of their first moves was to shut down gay pubs and other gathering places. In a subsequent escalation, starting in late 1933 or early 1934, the Nazis used new legislation and police practices to arrest and hold without trial a small number of homosexual individuals. The Nazis did this as part of a bigger campaign to curb crime. The Nazi administration ordered the police to round up everyone with a history of sexual offenses, such public ogling intercourse with a child or incest. Paragraphs 173 to 183 of the German Criminal Code outlined these offenses. Many homosexual men were among those rounded up, and some of them ended up in the first concentration camps established by the dictatorship. The 1934 to 1936 phase. There were three major incidents that occurred between 1934 and 1936 that contributed to the intensification of the Nazi regime's war against homosexuality. In June and July of 1934, SA leaders Ernst Röhm and others were murdered. As a result of these murders, Nazi propaganda shifted its language towards homosexuality. Hitler ordered the execution of Röhm and the other SA commanders as part of a fight for control at the highest echelons of the German government and the Nazi Party. However, following the purge, Nazi propaganda used Röhm's sexuality as evidence for the deaths. They did this to capitalize on widespread discrimination against people of the same sex in Germany. Second, the Nazis made changes to paragraph 175 of the German Penal Code that outlawed sexual contact between males in June of 1935. A variety of touchy-feely and sexy activities were made illegal under the Nazi revision of the law. In addition, the Nazi revision made it possible to get a 10-year jail term with hard labor for engaging in sexual actions between males without their consent. The revised law allowed the Nazi administration to prosecute and punish far more men for same-sex behavior than previously. The Reich Central Office for the Combating of Homosexuality and Abortion was founded by SS Chief and Chief of the German Police, Heinrich Himmler, in 1936. This section of the criminal police, called as Kripo, collaborated closely with the political police called as Gestapo. Himmler, who was famously homophobic, believed that the decline in the German birth rate was due in large part to homosexuality and abortion. The stage was set for the Nazi government to step up its crusade against homosexuals by the year's end, 1936. In the middle to late 1930s, law enforcement agencies conducted raids on bars and other public gathering places they claimed were frequented by homosexual men. The police would form cordons around establishments like pubs and interrogate anybody who seemed to be acting suspiciously. Some males detained during raids could be freed if no evidence could be found to incriminate them. Those who the police determined had broken paragraph 175 would face trial, and in certain circumstances, they would be transferred immediately to a concentration camp. Homosexuals' lives in concentration camps. There were between 5,000 and 15,000 male homosexual criminals imprisoned in extermination camps. Prisoners assigned to this category were often obliged to identify themselves on their camp uniforms with a pink triangle. Many of the inmates who wore pink triangle identification badges were openly homosexual. The inmates in this particular section of the concentration camp were identified as a separate population by the pink triangle. Many stories from camp survivors indicate that detainees assigned to the pink triangle were among the worst mistreated in the camps. Prisoners in the pink triangle were sometimes given the most difficult and dangerous tasks in the camp. Guards and other detainees often abused them physically and sexually at the concentration camp. They were sometimes assaulted and humiliated in front of others. Some detainees assigned to the pink triangle category at Buchenwald were the targets of cruel medical tests. Many people in the camps relied on prisoner networks for basic necessities like food and clothes. Most inmates assigned to the pink triangle were German speakers, giving them a leg up by allowing them to take on administrative tasks rather than the more physically demanding ones. However, the difficulty of surviving was exacerbated by the convicts' normal isolation. The number of captives wearing pink triangles who perished in the camps is unclear. Numerous lives were broken by persecution, torture, and dehumanization, leaving an indelible mark on history. Let us remember the victims of this bleak chapter and work together to ensure that such atrocities are never repeated. Do not forget to share your opinions and views on Hitler's behavior towards homosexuals. Also, if you like this video, subscribe to our channel for more such content.